How's it going, everybody? Swood here, and today I'm bringing you guys a video on my thoughts on the balance changes and what they should change. If you guys didn't know, Supercell actually tweeted about a couple days ago that there's going to be balance changes in the next week. So right now it's Friday the 19th of January, and we're assuming that they're going to be about Wednesday next week. So I just wanted to, before they announce them, give my thoughts on what they should do. I already went on Clash with Ash's channel to talk over this with him, but I had a few different changes of what that list was, because it was actually a combined list of his and mine. So I just wanted to go over my thoughts and talk in depth about each card and what I think. So these cards right here, these are the 8 cards I think they should touch. Obviously, starting with the Royal Ghost, it is like the most OP card right now. Let's go through the stats quickly. So DPS 135 is not crazy, but it's 3 elixir, it goes invisible, it does splash damage. So just that alone, it's like a knight that does splash damage and it's invisible. That's crazy. It goes invisible after 0.7 seconds, so like of it swinging, and that's the only way for it to activate. So it's really weird. Like if you're not used to playing against it, it like will go to your tower. You can't defend it with like another Royal Ghost. It's just really awkward, and the fact that it is able to go invisible after 0.7 seconds, it's pretty insane. Like if you have like a Goblin Hunt in the middle and you could just swing one, it goes invisible, swings the other, like it gets like no damage at all. And a 1 HP Royal Ghost will still hit your tower because it's invisible. They can't see it unless they like block it with something. So that just makes the card super strong in general. And then it does have good stats as well. It's like I said, it's like a knight, so it doesn't die to lots of spells easily. I think it dies to like a rocket, maybe a lightning. I don't think it dies to lightning. So it's pretty strong. So I think they should sort of do like a dual nerf. They should nerf the invisibility timer. Right now it's 0.7 seconds. I think they should bring it to like 1.5-ish. There's like 3 different ways. They could do 1.5 seconds or so. They could put it to like 5 seconds. So like it only goes invisible like after the whole push is done, and then it's like counterattacking. But it like mid attack, it's not going to keep on going invisible. Or they could just completely remove the invisibility after it's already like shown itself. So those are the 3. I think they should just do the first one, nerf it down a bit from 0.7 to like 1.5 seconds, but then also give it another kind of nerf. So I think the other nerf should be something like, I'm undecided on this one, either like a area damage or a hit speed nerf, one of the two. I'm not sure exactly how this will affect interactions, so I mean, whatever doesn't affect interactions too bad, but they should nerf the damage of it somehow. So either one of those, that's my thoughts. And hopefully that brings it down to a more balanced spot. I don't want them to like barely touch it so it's still OP and then we wait another 2 months for it to be nerfed, or they just like kill it. We just want the balance, and ideally they just release some balance. So hopefully this helps them. And if they ever do watch these videos, let me know. I can help you guys balance change. So next card up is the Goblin Hut. As you guys know, it's like the second most popular deck in the game, or second most popular card in the game right now. So it spawns a ton of goblins. Spear goblins, which got buffed. It doesn't give a good trade to any spell. Like poison's the best trade against it, but everyone's using it with cards like Night Witch, so that like you shouldn't even, or Graveyard, so you shouldn't even be poisoning the Goblin Hut, because then you're not gonna have poison for another card that you need it more. So there's no good way to deal with a Goblin Hut really. It's like a pump, but it's stronger because of the fact that it's like when you play it, you're not defenseless. You're playing in the middle. It still spawns Spear Goblins, so you have a couple Spear Goblins to defend, and you also will be able to pull troops. So if you like pump and they hog, like that's pretty devastating. But if you Goblin Hut and they hog, it's whatever. That's fine. You can just get another Goblin Hut. So that's why Goblin Hut's a lot better than pump right now. Also the fact that every single big spell in the game like trades evenly with pump, whereas there is no positive trade or even trade to the Goblin Hut. Everything's like a negative trade, where you're still going to get lots of goblins for like the 1 extra elixir. So Goblin Hut's a little too strong right now. If I was going to change it, I would either change like the HP. That it actually got a 5% HP buff a couple balance changes ago. I don't think many people remember that. Something, I'm not sure what, but like the spawn rate or the HP, something so it like doesn't spawn as many goblins, and that spells are a bit better of a trade against. So that's my thoughts. Because it's just, right now it's just so strong, there's no good trade against it, and everyone's using it in like almost every deck. So the next thing I want to tackle is the Zap Bait issue. Zap Bait is really strong right now with Inferno Dragon, Bats, Skeleton Barrel all comboed together. and if you have all three of these cards and you have zap, you can only zap one of them. So first thing I want to touch on is bats. They were balancing them between 4 and 5 bats, and the issue was that at 4, no one would play them because they just get zapped away and they're useless. And 5, they're sort of playable, but now with the introduction of Skeleton Barrel, the bats are actually really strong because you're never able to zap the bats. You're always having to save your zap for like the Skeleton Barrel or even the Inferno Dragon. So there's power in numbers, and that's true for the bats tied with the Inferno Dragon and the Skeleton Barrel. I don't even consider them a zappable card because you can't use your zap on them. You have to use it on other stuff. I don't think they should move it down to four bats. I think that's a little significant. What I think they should do is I think they should change the hit speed from 1 second to like 1.1 or 1.2. Something to give it a small nerf so that it's still usable and it'll still be with those zap bait decks, but not so strong. And this will also give a very slight nerf to the Night Witch, which I think is needed. The Night Witch is very strong, especially with the deck with Goblin Hut, because you have to like try to poison the Goblin Hut, and then they have Golden Night Witch, and you can't even kill the Night Witch or the bats, or they can't poison the Goblin Hut because of how strong the Night Witch is, and then they just die to the Goblin Hut. So that's the dilemma with bats right now. I think changing the bats hit speed, not the count of how many there are, will also do a slight indirect nerf to the Night Witch, which would be good. So that's the 4 big nerfs that I'm looking for. Not even big nerfs, actually, just like small ones to help make the games more balanced. These are cards that are like super popular in almost every deck. So for a couple different, these ones are not all, there's a few buffs. These 2 are buffs. Rework for the graveyard and mortar. I want you guys help with that one, but I'll get to that later. So Hunter, I actually don't think it needs a buff, maybe a very slight buff. I think it's already good where it is right now. It's used in like an Expo Hunter and also a little bit of Giant Hunter decks, also like a minor Balloon Hunter deck. So it has its niche. It's not played a ton, but it is played. I think maybe just a small buff just to make it more viable so people play it more and people are more aware of how much damage the card does. It's still good, but it's just not, the usage rate isn't really that high. So I could understand a small buff, but I don't want something too good because it still is a good card right now. On the same line, Zappies, I don't like the card, and I'm glad that they're bad right now. That's why I don't have them in here. They should be buffed because they're bad, and I'm sure they will be buffed, but I don't want them to be buffed because the mechanic of them is sort of broken. They're able to like stun stuff, and it's just, I don't really want them to be viable, so that's why I don't have them in here. I'm sure they will get a buff though. This is the big buff that everyone's hoping for. The Lightning, it got a nerf from 3.5 radius to 3, which is actually huge. The Lightning sort of just went out of the meta completely. No one uses it. If they do want the 3.5 radius back, I would say perfect, just bring that back. That's the only change you need. But I'm assuming if they took out that radius, they don't want the 3.5 radius for a big spell in the game. So I'm going to go under the assumption that they want to keep it at 3. So the only other thing I could think of is you want to increase the stun duration to like 1 second, maybe 1.5. You don't really want to touch how many it does, like 3 lightning bolts or the elixir cost. If you lower it down to 5, you'll be able to still one-hit the elixir collector, and then there will be a positive trade against the elixir collector. So I'll just absolutely kill the elixir collector. So you can't really touch the elixir count or the how many lightning bolts it has. So I think the only things you can really touch are the radius or the stun duration, unless you get really spicy and change like the damage it does and all that. But that's a huge rework. So my idea is just raise the stun duration to 1 second, maybe 1.5, and see how that goes. Maybe tweak it later on. But radius would be the easiest. So Graveyard, I think, is in a good spot overall, and so is Poison, but there is one problem. It's Poison versus Graveyard. The Poison basically denies all damage versus the Graveyard. I guess maybe 1 or 2 skeletons, but with the Poison killing the skeletons in 1 tick, and most of the Graveyard skeletons spawning on the outer circle now, it takes them like at least 1 or 2 tiles to walk into the tower, so all those are instantly killed. There's only like the 5 that spawn on the inside that are, some of them die to the poison or the tower, and some of them get a hit before they die. So, I mean, right now, Ice Golem Graveyard, you can defend it with a poison, and they get maybe 100 damage, 150 damage. So, I think that the interaction between poison and Graveyard should be changed. How I think they should do this, there's a couple different ways. You could either lower the duration of poison, but I think that leads to problems with like it becoming even stronger because it does more DPS per second. Or they can increase the duration of Graveyard from like 10 seconds to 11 or 12, because this 10-second duration is actually like 8.5, because it takes like a second or a second and a half for the first skeleton to spawn. So really that's like an 8.5. I think if they put this up by like a second or two, it would spread out the skeletons more, so the poison wouldn't be as effective. The only thing you need to be aware with this is if it is more spread out, it's going to be easier for every other troop, like the tower or archers or whatever, to keep up with the skeleton spawning. So I think they do need to add like 1 or 2 more skeletons and increase the duration. This wouldn't be a buff, it would just be a rework so that it does better versus poison. It would still, like if you were doing like archers versus graveyard pre and post balance, I would hopefully wish that they are exactly the same. I'm just trying to help fix the poison versus graveyard interaction. And lastly, mortar. I think mortar is too strong. I think it should get a slight nerf. A lot of people disagree with me on this one. Before when they had the glitch where you could like make it not shoot at all, I never even touched it, but Music Master qualified for NACCGS with that glitch in tourney standard using mortar. So I mean that sort of just showed how strong it was. People don't really realize it because no one's really played it ever. Everyone just considers it's a ladder card. And I mean, I'm scared to play this on ladder because of how strong it is. But even in tourney standard, it is pretty strong. People don't really know how to defend it. I think a slight nerf, like changing the hit speed to 5.5 or the deploy time back to 4 seconds. It just got a buff to 3.5 with the expo. I think something small like that, or maybe like a small damage nerf, would be good because it is pretty strong. I think 2018, a lot of pros are going to realize that it's a lot stronger and they're going to start practicing with it. And it's really scary, and especially on ladder. I'm just thinking tourney standard, but on ladder, it's like 3 levels higher. And that's just scary for all the free-to-play players that are playing against it. So these are my big changes. Let me know. I'm just going to scroll through all the cards. Let me know anything else you guys think should be changed or what you think on my changes. I think those would make the game a lot more balanced, and with the introduction of probably another card coming soon, it'll shake up the meta for sure. So those are all the cards, guys. Let me know what you think. If you're not already part of the Swood army, make sure to subscribe. Show some support on this video, guys. Make sure to like and comment. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys have a good day. See you, YouTube.